It is not fashionable to believe in the devil in the 21st century. It's not fashionable. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. It's one of my favorite lines, if you know the reference. We must take the devil very seriously. Absolutely seriously. There is a force that is trying to drag down the human will into the vortex. I want to give 3 possible stories about how to relate to the devil. But the important thing I want to stress about this is that it doesn't matter which story is true, or if any of them are. The way we should relate to the devil in every case is exactly the same. Option 1, what I call the slugworth scenario. And I take this from the book of Job, where Satan is actually an angel of God working to test man. Perhaps that's ultimately what it is, that actually the devil is just God testing us directly, or some angel of God, just like Job, testing man, testing his will. Okay, option 1. So that way the devil's got, he's like Slugworth and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. He secretly works for Willy Wonka. I like that story. Option 2, the Jungian story. This is actually my favorite. It's the idea of the devil as shadow. Now, whenever you're in the material world, given the nature of material, it always creates a shadow. But if we think of that existentially as well, we can think of the shadow as having a kind of form in and of itself, but being totally empty of being and goodness. So it's this empty form that is sort of generated by the system itself as a kind of archetypal negativity. And from this, I think, is a kind of Jungian interpretation. And the Jungian shadow is a big notion that I think comports well with the traditional Christian idea of the privation of the good as being what is evil. And evil is not a proactive thing in and of itself. It's a privation of something that is good. So the Jungian scenario, the shadow scenario, is, again, they look exactly the same, but I do like it quite a bit. Finally, the third scenario is what I call the mythological scenario. And again, this very well might be the case. It's the traditional story that Lucifer was one of the most glorified angels of God, but who, through pride, fell from heaven along with a third of the angels, and now, although he's in hell for all time, he nonetheless, maybe you could think of him as he's falling down towards hell, tries to grab as many souls on the way with him, in the form of kind of an entropic fall towards the abyss. But that the mythological tale that's told in traditional sort of mythological Christianity is actually the case. So this, and this could be the case. It could be. It's the most fantastic in a way, but it also is the most engaging as a story, which might be part of it. It's a mystery. But any of those 3, he's going to look exactly the same. The important thing is not to be scared of him. The important thing to know is that to know what he's trying to do, and then just find God, and God's the only thing you should be scared of. You're not scared of the devil. Jesus was not scared of the devil. When Jesus was terrified in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was terrified of what God was going to do to him. In a sense, not the devil. Not that God was doing it to him, but he feared the right master in that moment, shall we say. The devil probably ultimately is made of fear itself. a form of fear. And I think we can see humanity as each of us in our fallen state, each of us who isn't Jesus Christ, having a little bit of the devil in us. In the same way that Harry Potter, had a little bit of the devil in him. He needed to die to get rid of it, so he could be resurrected. I think all of us, when we fall, we take a bite of the devil guy, and a part of his personality, part of his being, part of his fallen, total depravity of the devil is a little bit in us as fallen creatures. And it's fear, because we all fear. He's made of fear. That's why he's the boogeyman. And there's a weird attraction to it at times, an attraction to see it, an attraction to maybe try to overcome it. But he does want souls. He wants souls to freely choose not to go ahead with the offer from God. If he has a goal, that's his goal. Sometimes I think that he's all the uncreated, all the souls who were never made, screaming out, but silently because they're not actually existing. There's a lot of ways to think about the devil, but he's doing what he's doing no matter what. Something about being in this world is a precarious state for your existence. It's a serious business. And the devil wants souls. Because he's too prideful. He's the light bearer. Lucifer was the light bearer. It's very interesting that he was the light bearer. Again, I think there's something about the generation of light necessitating the generation of shadow to a certain extent. And though he carried light, it was his being pushed out of heaven that generated the shadow. Fear God, not the devil, but take the devil very seriously. And by that, all you have to do is take yourself seriously. And your salvation seriously. And then the devil will have no power. 666, the number of a man. Well, what does it mean?